Alright, so we've been looking at FileCoin and we've covered quite a bit. But I found this interesting page in the documentation comparing FileCoin to Amazon and Google Cloud and so on. And they talk about the main use case, okay? So they're talking about specifically the storage capabilities of Amazon and Google. So S3 and Google Cloud. So their basic premise here is that the prices, because you have many independent miners, they compete. It's stored with, S3 is very widely supported. Yes, it's priced by the corporation, but remember, they still have to compete against each other to some degree. So, now here's a biggie. It is centralized. If you're using Amazon services or Google, they're in control. And as we saw a few months back with Parler, if they're in control, you're not in control, and they can shut you down. Regardless of what one may think of Parler, if you're a business and you see that, it says, I'm really at the mercy of my provider here. So if you have many independent storage providers, you're not susceptible to corporate decision making in that way. Reliability. Well, I think Amazon does things for reliability. I'm more familiar with Amazon than Google Cloud, but they have data centers all over the world. There are various things you can do. I guess, there's a protocol for FileCoin, and if you're storing on different providers, S3 has its own API. I'm sure Google Cloud has theirs. And if you doing and a separate thing, let's say you're using a database, that generally has its own way of doing things. Although, if you're using there are common things that you can do, common APIs, where you're using a driver and that determines the details. Retrieval, Amazon S3. Any of the Amazon's not cheap. Even their slow storage, I forget what they call it, Glacier. Now, that's interesting. I don't know. They're talking about getting refunds if your file's lost. I think in that point, if it's an important file, you care more about the file than getting a refund. And they're talking about the protocol handling things going wrong versus a help desk. Physical location. Yes, it's true. Miners are located everywhere in the world, but so are data centers. But again, it's not as, there are specific places where data centers are. It is very easy for someone to create a node, and yes, an Amazon data center or Google data center is rather large. Now, let's look at FileCoin versus Bitcoin. Well, they do different things. So I think when you're talking about comparing FileCoin to Bitcoin, you're kind of comparing apples and oranges. let's see. Yeah, in Bitcoin they use special chips. Mining results in heat or more Bitcoin. So looking at these comparisons, I don't know how valid a comparison the FileCoin versus Bitcoin would be, because they're going to be used, you're not going to use Bitcoin to store data. I mean, you may use Ethereum. Ethereum does have mechanisms for, the ability to use smart contracts, and you can store data where you access it via a hash that is actually what's in the block, I believe. I think this is a more valid comparison. You can also make a comparison about web pages. Again, you get the benefit of the fact that things are distributed. You're not at the mercy of one company. Again, going back to what Amazon can do, Amazon essentially turning off Parler, so they can turn off anyone. I mean, if you're using their data center and they decide they don't want to do business with you, you got a problem. So thought this is interesting. I really think you have to look at the particular application. I think you might see more web stuff stored in this sort of a fashion, but that's not the case now. Now, a lot of people store things on things like S3 or in databases, and databases can be distributed to a certain extent as well. And if you think about Amazon, you can set it up where you have servers in different locations. You can have set up that if you have multiple servers, so if one goes down, one takes over, and it can spin up another. You can also spin up another server if, let's say, you're overwhelmed with traffic. In fact, that's why it came about, Amazon Web Services, because Amazon had a problem, right? They needed X amount of computing power most of the time, but then you get to Black Friday or situations like that, all of a sudden they need all this computing power. Hence, Amazon Web Services was originally a solution for them, and they found that it's a solution for a lot of businesses. So anyway, hopefully this has been educational, and if you found this helpful, then please give a like, please subscribe, please ring the bell to get further videos, and share it with your friends if this is something they're interested in. Anyway, take care, and I will speak to you next time.